meteoric rise of George Will in the journalism profession. He has a good head on his shoulder, and he's a thoroughly honest young man, and he deserves all the success that he's had.
George Will!
George F. Will, very provocative writer, has a great gift with words and with speech.
George Will has a great phrase.
George F. Will, one of the most learned and thoughtful, entertaining, rewarding observers of the Washington scene we've had in a long time. When he's not writing about baseball, he tends to write about politics.
It's the only game where you can have George Will sitting next to the postman and they might be able to get along.
George Will wrote a column a while back that said that while I was mayor of New York, I ran the most conservative government in the United States.
The columnist George Will quite accurately observed that it would take 200,000 buses extending along a 1,700-mile long line to deport 11 million people.
As conservative columnist George Will recently wrote in the Washington Post, and I quote, "We are not going to take the draconian police measures necessary to deport 11 million people. They would fill 200,000 buses in a caravan stretching bumper to bumper from San Diego to Alaska."
A book by George F. Will called Statecraft to Soulcraft, which I probably would have been about 16 or so, and it's not too much to say that it changed my life.
I figured out what my role was supposed to be, which was to attack George Will and get attacked by George Will, and that is not what I was put on this earth to do, so I quit.
My dear friend George Will told me once, he said, when I wake up in the morning, before I'm completely awake, I ask myself the question, is this a day in which I have to write a column? And if the answer is yes, I wake up happy.
5 decades of reading George Will columns in the Washington Post and 4 decades of hearing about George Will on C-SPAN in the latest episode of C-SPAN's podcast, The Weekly. Find C-SPAN's The Weekly wherever you get podcasts. The Weekly!
I write all the time. It's a metabolic necessity for me.